All right, everyone on the podcast side, I want to let you guys know that this episode is going to have a handful of pauses as I get my thoughts together because there's a lot to unpack on this episode. So nothing's going on with the episode. It's just that I am really trying to contain myself as I talk about this. So hopefully you guys will enjoy, and I appreciate the support. Thank you. All right, folks, what is going on? What is going on? This is episode 301 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller, and today is another somber day for Atlanta Falcons football. We all know ever since 28-3, everything is pretty much going downhill for the Falcons, and you already know what this episode is going to be about. We're going to talk about Calvin Ridley, his decision making of what he's done, not only just with the gambling or the alleged gambling, but the everything that happens prior to that. I want to talk about in all of that. So we're going to get into that, and I'm going to look at it from a different standpoint because a lot of people are looking at it from a fan standpoint, but even though I am a Falcons fan, I want to look at this from a whole different angle, and hopefully you guys will understand where I'm coming from when I go with this. I'm not even going to get into the whole intro of this podcast. All I'm just going to say is if you guys have been following this, I really appreciate you guys for supporting the podcast. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, welcome. And this is a lot to talk about here. This is going to be a lot because this is, to me, I feel like this is bigger than football. This is bigger than the Falcons. And this goes to another underlying issue that we may need to really reflect on, So let's go ahead and get into this. We all know all over the world of social media and the news that Calvin Ridley has been suspended 1 year for gambling on NFL games. He also gambled on the Falcons, at least one occasion that I know of. He did it out of state of Georgia, where in the state of Georgia is illegal, but I think it's legal in Florida. And but nevertheless, if you're an NFL player, I'm pretty sure that's against the NFL rules. And it ended up getting him caught. Somebody from the I guess the app that he used called the NFL and told him what he was doing. So he was doing this like wide open with his identity shown. But I'm gonna get into that in a second. So everything basically came to a head, yesterday. It is the morning after, and I thought about it for a little while. And I know this is like pre-recorded prior to, the actual morning that is uploaded. This is not live. So I did get a chance to think about this. And I want to give you my thoughts and opinions about it. Now, we're looking at a situation where a football player decided to call it quits after game number 6 of the season. He was citing mental health. Shortly after that, it's allegedly said that he started gambling a little bit after, like they said, as early as November. So it was it was not too far from the time that he backed out and said he wasn't going to play anymore. So I said this on my short video I did. Is it possible that he was betting on the Falcons or betting on games he did not want to be a deciding factor of a game? Is this one of the reasons why he decided not to play? But he cited mental health because he felt that mental health was a crutch that nobody can dispute. I'm going to give you a double-edged sword there. I'm going to give you two prongs to that argument. One, it's very tough to go at somebody about mental health, whether they are lying or not. So in one instance, you can't really say anything. You just want that person to get better because you don't know what kind of damage you may do. But if he does not have a mental health issue and he used mental health to do what he did as far as gambling, That is a mental health issue. I want y'all to understand that. That is a mental health issue. Now, I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not into any of this stuff, but I feel that that is a mental health issue. If you're going to lie or if you're going to use mental health as a crutch to do other things that you shouldn't be doing. Now, this all allegedly what he did. I mean, I guess is true now because they suspended him, but I feel that using it as a situation to do what he wants to do is a mental health issue. So maybe he may be right about that in a roundabout way. So in one case, you can't say anything, but two, in another fashion, maybe he really has one for doing that. Now, looking at this entire situation is like, what are we doing here when it comes to actually your own mental state? You know, I mean, are you just doing this because you didn't want to be a Falcon? Are you doing this because you don't want to play football? Or you felt like you just got in too deep in a situation? Because I feel like this has been going on way before this year. You just don't get into gambling like this. You just don't get into it right away after you walk away from. I mean, just think about this. Now, I said I don't have a criminal. I mean, let me back up a little bit. I don't have a mental health background, but I do have a criminal justice background, and I've dealt with people who've done wrong. And I've done that for years prior to me doing the occupation I have now, which, you know, if you don't know, I drive trucks by day. I drive trucks by day. But before that, I was in law enforcement. So you run across people who have done wrong all the time. And the pattern is always there. I don't care what anybody says as far as having a degree in this type of stuff. Or don't get me wrong, I think those guys are well qualified to do so. But when you're dealing with people who manipulate situations on in certain instances, when you deal with those people, you kind of have somewhat of a background with dealing with people who manipulate and do things for wrong reasons. And I've done that for 7 years. So I'm not saying I'm qualified, but I see signs because I've dealt with people who have tendencies to manipulate and do wrong things at the wrong time. Does that make sense? I guess that makes sense. But anyway, let's talk about the decisions that he made. He backed away, and right after that, there's saying that he started using, this app to gamble on football games. When you look at those situations, when you look at something like that, it's not hard or it's not far-fetched to think otherwise. When you're looking at a situation like this where the performance on the field that he had kind of coincides with like, I don't want to touch this game because I'm already I can be involved in the outcome of this game, is a situation where that the signs are there. The situation shows that the signs are there. I just don't understand that, how people don't see this. I looking back at it now and I thought it was mental health. I thought he was scared to play the game, and maybe it is mental health, but I feel like this has been going on longer than that, much longer. I would not be surprised it's been going on probably since last year. I wouldn't be surprised if it started actually during the off season. Probably at the beginning of the year. This is not something that happened as soon as he walked away from the game. I just don't see that. And for you to just, walk away like that and then you find your way around, places where you're making cryptic tweets and you look at these tweets right here. I don't know if it shows lack of accountability, but it does show that in some cases, in some way, he don't care. That just, it shows like, I got him on the screen. It said, if you know me, you know my character. I don't think anybody knows you outside of your immediate family at this point. So why are you putting that on social media? The second one, I know I was wrong, but I'm getting 1 year. So it's like, look, he knows he's wrong, but look, I'm only getting 1 year. LOL. I'll be back next year. It doesn't matter. Slap on the wrist, which I'm going to get back to that in a second. I'm going to be more healthy when I come back. I'm going to get back to that in a second. I bet 1,500 total and I don't have a gambling problem. Nobody said you had one to begin with, so there's some type of implication that you know that you have an issue. Nobody implicated that at all. I learned from my L's. No, you didn't. You ain't learned from this yet at all. The only way you learn from when you do stuff like this is when you hit rock bottom. When you really find out that this is bigger than a slap on the wrist. When you feel that 1 year could turn into 2 years. When 1 year feel like when it feels like when people decide not to even sign you anymore. And you can't play football again. That your career is ended because of the decisions that you made. That's when you know that you really learn from whatever you're doing. When you're doing stuff like this, when you're on social media like this, you're not learning from your L's. You're not learning. You don't even feel like you lost. You don't even feel like you took an L. I'm sorry for the pause, but this is really starting to upset me at this point. I just don't know. It's really, you know what? I don't know if he's going to recover from this. Not until he really understands that next year, when he's reinstated, wait a minute, even if he gets reinstated, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't even know if he's going to get reinstated. I do apologize for the long pause. I really do. But I'm just trying not to say something crazy. But my thing is like, when you're looking at the situation, it's like, this is so sad at the end of the day. You got a kid you got a guy that was young, had a chance to make millions, and he possibly just threw it all away. And shout out to the Atlanta Falcons organization. They could have swindled a team easily, but they knew what was going on since February, and they were like, you know what, Calvin got to worry about himself. And you know that, and it all makes sense now when Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith said, hey man, he got to worry about himself. That's the main thing, is worrying about it. It ain't even about football. It ain't about him coming back. The main thing is we need to know if Calvin's all right, because they knew what was going on. And they kept it under wraps, and they knew what the situation was going to be. Shout out for them for being quiet, and shout out for them I don't even know if the other players knew, but if the other players knew, shout out for them for not saying a thing. I'm almost certain the players knew before this whole thing went down. I wouldn't be surprised. I believe the players probably knew about it, because you know your teammates. You know your teammates. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to get a couple of them in on it. So, I mean, they probably knew it. And shout out to everybody on that team that didn't say anything this entire time. The Falcons are going to get $11.1 million back as far as, cap space, which is good. Sadly, we're not getting any trade value back from them. But the cap space is good. We can go sign somebody. It would have been really nice to get a draft pick out of that. But this isn't even really about football, man. Like the first 11 minutes of this show, I was talking about Calvin Ridley, the guy. I've seen this so many times where people try to, even when I dealt with juveniles in detention centers to grown man prisons, and I'm talking about like maximum security prisons. And I'm not saying that to beat my chest, but I walked across a long line of people who do stuff like this, who say and do things because they got other things they're trying to, do on the back end. On the other side of the fence, they're trying to do something else, and they do these things to cover up, and using mental health is one of the worst things you can do because mental health is a real issue. And it shows you that I believe that what he did is a mental health issue. Lying about mental health is a mental health issue. I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this. I'm going to talk about what could possibly happen in the future. I think the Falcons are going to be fine. I feel terrible for Arthur Smith. He doesn't deserve this. Ever since the situation with Michael Vick and the dogfighting thing, he don't deserve this. Who in their right mind believes that guy deserves the Michael Vick incident, the Bobby Petrino incident? Man, that's 28-3. I mean, that's a football issue, but 28-3. Julio Jones. Now Calvin Ridley. Yeah, Arthur Smith don't deserve that. That man has done nothing but give back and do the best he can for this organization as an owner and for the NFL. But what happens going forward? Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot's already been in place knowing what was going on for about a month now. So they already know what they're dealing with. They're probably light years ahead of this situation. So with that being said, they're good money. I think the team is going to be fine. We just need to figure out getting some picks, getting some, quality players, and turn this thing around. And it's not much to turn around. We were 7-10 last year. We're literally 2 games to be over 500. Not bad for a team that didn't have a receiver like Calvin Ridley, that didn't have a pass rush that we should have had, and quite frankly, a secondary outside of AJ Terrell. We didn't have that. And you know what? I was going to talk about AJ Terrell, which I will talk about that in 302. That's going to be another episode, for next. That's going to be another episode for 302. That's going to be the next episode. But we're going to talk about AJ Terrell in the secondary, because I think something big can happen there. What happens with the draft picks? I don't know. I don't think we're going to be scrambling to get a receiver now. Because like I said, Terry Fontenot and them already knew about this a month in advance. Probably longer than that, to be honest. So they're probably already know. So I don't think not much change. So I think that's going to be fine. As far as Calvin Ridley goes, I don't know if he plays another down in the NFL. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think he betted. Now, it's one thing to bet. Why he couldn't get somebody else to do this? Why he couldn't get somebody else to do this? But for him, I don't think he plays another down in the NFL. I'll be highly surprised if he plays another down. I mean, everybody talks about all this other stuff going on with, Pete Rose and people who've done worse or whatever the case. You just can't mess with the integrity of the game. You know what I mean? You just can't mess with the integrity of the game. That's just something that just can't happen. I understand, don't get me wrong. I know somebody tweeted about Ray Rice getting 4 games, or whatever the case be, but Ray Rice never came back into the NFL. So even though they said it 4 games, he was done. We knew he was done. When that thing came on tape, he was done. I don't think anybody, talked about that. And anybody like Josh Gordon, drugs and all that situation, they tried to get him come back. He's not. I don't think he's gonna play. He may play another down. I don't know, but Josh Gordon is so talented. He just has a self-inflicted problem. But the bet on games, that's a big deal. And you putting this stuff on Twitter, that does not help. So I don't know what else to say. I'll be surprised once he get reinstated next year in February 15th, I think. Then he can apply for reinstatement. I will be surprised if he gets put back in the league. I don't think nobody will trust him, especially the Falcons won't trust him. They can forget it. I mean, he can forget it. He's not going to be a Falcon anymore. But I mean, that's just my thoughts and opinion. I mean, I think it cost him his career at the end of the day. I really did. I think this decision making because I don't think it's just before I'm about to close, but I'm gonna say this. Not only that you gambled on games, which is okay, you bet on games, but everything behind that. Now people are going to look at the mental health situation. Did you lie about mental? Now seriously, this is one of the situations where you can honestly sit here and say, did you lie about mental health to do this? So now who can trust you? It's one thing to say, okay, he bet on games, but he never, came out and said, he never did anything, yada, 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 to the organization. He just bet on games. But now when you say I had to walk away from the game because of this, but it turns out you was doing this, now you have a problem where people can they not trust you? If the money's so good, you may bet against us and you may not play as well as you should. Something to think about. It's bigger than just, to me, I think it's just bigger than football in general. It's just about your integrity. I hope whatever he's going through, he gets help. And I'm not trying to go down. I'm not trying to be hard on him, but this is the reality. I just hope he gets all the help he needs. I'm going to get up out of here because I can go longer and longer on this, and I don't want to keep this going. But like I said, I think the Falcons are going to be okay. I don't think Calvin Ridley plays another down in the NFL. If he does, God bless him. If not, it was everything that I thought about. But I'm going to get up out of here. If you guys like this content, hit the like button, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm sorry for all the pauses. I do apologize for all the pauses in this, but I couldn't help myself. I was trying to reserve myself for everything that I was going to say because none of this is scripted. If you want to catch all my other content, just check out everything on the channels, everything on the podcasting. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel of promoting everything. I'm just not into it. You know where to find me, for the most part. Just search First and Frame Rates. And it's very unfortunate. But I think the Falcons are going to be fine. We'll talk about the Falcons sometime down the road as a team, despite all of this. But tomorrow I will try my best to get into the AJ Terrell side of what I wanted to talk about because that was the original version of this episode. Hopefully I'll get into that. If more news come up about this, I'll continue to talk about that as well. All right, y'all. I am getting out of here. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.